From the UNC Hussman School of Journalism and Media, connecting Carolina's campus and community, this is Carolina Week.
Good morning and welcome to Carolina Week. I'm Leslie Guzman.
And I'm Lauren Fickton. Thanks for joining us. Masks are coming off across the triangle now that the governor has encouraged local governments to end mask mandates. So what does that mean for us at UNC? Reporter Kelly Kendall has the latest.
Carolina students are going to have to wait a little longer before ditching their masks. The town of Chapel Hill will continue to mask up while other areas of the triangle are dropping mask mandates. The announcement came Friday after county health officials and town leaders met to assess the state of the pandemic. While Durham and Orange counties will continue to require masks, Wake County is dropping the mandate this Friday at 5 p.m. COVID cases in Orange County are decreasing, but officials say they hope keeping the mandate will help those numbers continue to fall. Town leaders will meet again at the beginning of next month to reevaluate their decision. Reporting from Chapel Hill, Kelly Kendall, Carolina Week.
4 UNC professors have been elected to join one of the most distinct honor associations in the scientific community. The 2021 fellow cohort for the American Association for the Advancement of Science include UNC pharmacy professors Stephen Fry and Alexander Kabanov. Professor David Margolis of the Gilling School of Public Health and the School of Medicine and biology professor Amy Galtfelter were also elected. The university says the new fellows will be celebrated later this year.
For some people, psychedelics are seen as taboo. But for one lab in Chapel Hill, these drugs could be the key to discovering a way to treat mental health disorders. Reporter Tyler Shilton has the story.
At UNC's Roth Lab, researchers are using a $27 million grant to study psychedelics and a potential gateway to helping with mental illness.
Yeah, I think psychedelics such as LSD and the compounds found in magic mushrooms probably will at some point represent either in their current form or a slightly changed form, kind of the standard for treatment of depression and anxiety and perhaps other disorders.
Essentially, the goal is to use the good parts of drugs like LSD, the parts that make you happy, and do away with the hallucinations.
It's LSD that have sort of had this, bad connotation associated with them that, you take it and you'll go crazy, which generally speaking is not true at all. But yeah, these drugs seem to be making a lot of headway in the clinic.
A revolutionary robot is helping researchers at record speeds so they can figure out what works and what doesn't.
Without the robot, which essentially manages putting the drugs together for different cell assays, this really just couldn't be done otherwise by hand.
For postdoctoral associate Dayron Kojak, the research being done could change the way people view psychedelics.
The best case scenario, we can help millions of people around the world by creating cheap drugs that can help those suffering from issues regarding pain and also neurological disorders like anxiety and depression.
The market for such a drug has the potential to be a billion-dollar industry in the future, and the Roth Lab hopes the discoveries awaiting them the next 2 years will open doors to harness medical benefits. In Chapel Hill, I'm Tyler Chilton.
The recent surge in gas prices is something felt by many in our state and on UNC's campus. Carolina Week's Capitol reporter Stephen Schlink joins us now to tell us what caused this surge. Stephen?
Leslie, the effects of high gas prices extend all across the country. I spoke with a UNC economics professor about what caused this and his prediction for how long it could last.
It's a necessary part of having a car, but over the last several weeks, gas has become drastically more expensive. During the early part of the pandemic, there was a sharp decline in the amount of people on roadways, but since February of last year, that number has seen an increase to pre-pandemic levels. And the price of gas has increased along with the number of people on the road. This has caused a supply and demand imbalance, and it's due to many factors, including the price of crude oil, which is refined into gasoline.
Crude oil has been going up in price as well. And as crude oil rises in price, so does gasoline.
Dr. Patrick Conway is an economics professor at UNC. He also notes that an ongoing foreign dispute also plays a part in this.
Concerns about the supply of natural gas from Russia to West Europe have been rising with the conflict or the concerns about conflict in Ukraine.
President Biden is in ongoing talks between Russia and Ukraine with hopes of resolving this issue diplomatically. According to Dr. Conway, though, this surge is going to hang around for some time.
But my prediction is, no, we're not going to see the prices fall, at least over the summer.
This is due to the rise in travel seen in summer months, coupled with the already struggling supply.
Dr. Conway tells me that due to so many factors at play, his prediction could be wrong, although most of the major factors all point to Americans dealing with these prices at least through the fall. Reporting live, Stephen Schlink, Carolina Week.
The pandemic has changed the way many college students are able to get real-world experience, especially at some of the nation's biggest companies. Reporter Sabrina Ortiz spoke to a UNC student who has experienced both in-person and remote internships and has advice for others.
New York City has always been the hot spot for college internships, but as the epicenter of the coronavirus here in the US, most of those in-person experiences have been put on hold for the past 2 years. With restrictions loosening up, in-person internships are back on the table. This is good news for UNC students like Julian Berger, who recently interned at NBC News in New York City.
I moved up there. I was able to go into Rockefeller Center and go see the control room, go see the studio, basically get a hands-on feel for like an internship or a job at NBC. Which was amazing.
But every day at the internship didn't look like this. Because his internship was hybrid, he still had to deal with the challenges of being remote.
It was harder to get help because in person, they could just grab your computer and be like, do this, do that, do this. And it was so much easier to like have them guide you through what to do.
This semester, Berger's back to being remote for his new internship with CNN.
They sent me a computer and I log on, I have a set schedule. And I basically do whatever they need me to do whenever I'm on call or on schedule. And it's completely different from like the internship at NBC because it's 100% virtual.
Studies show that an estimated 36.2 million Americans will work remotely by 2025. Despite the downfalls of being remote, Berger encourages students to make the most of the situation since a lot of internships and job openings are still virtual.
My advice would be, if you're doing virtual, make those connections, be consistent in your communication with your boss, with your colleagues. You're texting them, calling them, making sure like you're doing everything you need to do.
In Chapel Hill, Sabrina Ortiz, Carolina Week.
A 5-letter word game has captivated hundreds of thousands of people across the world. Simple or frustrating, or simply frustrating, Wordle has become many students' first thought in the morning. At least, that's how it is at the Daily Tar Heel. Reporter Kasia Sari has the story.
The Daily Tar Heel has a new morning routine. Wordle, the simple 5-letter word game taking the world by storm. Commonly known as the DTH, Chapel Hill's student newspaper is one of the most decorated college newspapers in the country. That doesn't mean the journalists don't have time for games. Ben Snyder says every morning, they sit down and get the gears turning with the Daily Wordle.
We all like to do it together in the office first thing in the morning, just kind of to get our mind ready, I guess, for the day.
It's a simple game to play. You have 6 tries to guess the 5-letter word of the day. After each guess, the tiles flip over to highlight the letters black, yellow, or green. Black means the letter is not in the word. Yellow means the letter is in the word but in the wrong spot. And green means right letter, right spot. The goal is to guess the word in 6 tries, but Ben says that you should really aim for 4.
If you put it in golf terms, 3 is birdie and 4 is par.
The first word is the most important. Linguists have used TikTok to explain what the best first word is based on a few factors.
Your first word in Wordle should be irate. E, A, and I are the most common vowel letters in English, and T and R are the most common consonant letters in English. So that's my recommendation.
But Chloe Yope disagrees.
Maybe the people who created it know the starting words or something, but I don't know. I feel like I've gotten the best results when I've just picked a random word, so that's kind of been my go-to recently.
There's some methodology, but it's usually just a guessing game to start.
I feel like I try to pick a word with 2 vowels in it just to start off, but otherwise I've kind of just abandoned any type of method, I think.
The anxious buildup to seeing each letter flip green is cathartic, a release of joy that reels players into refreshing the site at midnight when the game begins anew. I'm Kasia Sari in Chapel Hill for Carolina Week.
The Center for European Studies is partnering with UNC Global Studies and other international organizations tonight to host a 2022 Global Career Night. Join via Zoom or in the Nelson Mandela Auditorium starting at 5:30 to hear from a panel of UNC alumni in globally focused careers in government, private sectors, and more. There will also be a Q&A session for you to ask your questions directly to the panel. The event is open to all students from first years to seniors.
When UNC played Pitt last Wednesday, a group of lucky students got to attend the basketball game as a class. Mijo 377 is a sports communication class where students conduct research about how to improve the UNC basketball game day experience. The professor, Livis Freeman, took his students to the game so they could get a first-hand opportunity to experience UNC basketball. He wanted to make sure everyone got the chance since COVID made it harder to get tickets.
I wanted to do something cool too, just so everybody felt good about it. And, it's nothing like building camaraderie than to have go to a sporting event together. And for a class, you rarely get an opportunity to do something that cool. So,
unfortunately, the Tar Heels lost to Pitt Wednesday, but the class says they loved going to the game as a group regardless.
Turning to weather now, it's rainy today, but the temperatures have been great this week.
Yes, they have. It's been so nice to ditch the coat these past few days. But will this weather last? Carolina meteorologist Corey Kowitz is here with our forecast.
Hello, everyone. I'm meteorologist Corey Kowitz, and if you don't like the thrill of roller coasters, this week may not be for you. I'll get to that in just a second. Right now, just like last Wednesday, we have a really nice warm day on tap, but we're hanging on by a thread because that cold air is nipping at our heels with that blue cold front. That's not going to affect us today. That's why we're going to see some nice, balmy, low to mid 70s for your Wednesday's high. But Thursday, that cold front comes through. 52, low 50s in the region, back to that seasonally chill. But you can see a warm front starts to form to our south as that cold front moves offshore. You're in the cold sector for your Thursday, but that warm front forms to our south, and by Friday it moves north. And that's why for the end of your school week, we're going to see really, really warm temperatures. Nice and balmy, the warmest air we have seen in a long time. Could even get up to 80. It's certainly a possibility in the RDU region, 20 or more degrees above average. So that's where the fun begins of the roller coaster. But this is not the fun part of the roller coaster. Back down to 53, seasonably cool again as you start your weekend. A perfect example of roller coaster of temperatures. We saw some rain in the beginning of the day, but that's going to dry out. 72 to 52, back up to 76, and then 52 to start your weekend, and 54 to round out your 5 days. So you don't like the thrill of roller coasters in a temperature form, this week is not for you. We're going to have some nice warm days mixed in there. That's for sure. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Corey. As the weather starts to warm up, it's the perfect weekend to catch up on some Carolina athletics. We go now to Sports Extra anchor Caitlin Schmidt to tell us more about what's in store this week. Caitlin?
Well, Leslie, there are certainly a lot of games to catch outside this week, but before we get to that, North Carolina women's basketball guard Deja Kelly is the ACC Player of the Week after UNC had wins against number 3 Louisville and Florida State. Kelly earned her first Player of the Week honors as a Tar Heel by averaging 22 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals in last week's games. Kelly played a crucial role down the stretch in the game against the Cardinals, knocking down a jumper that gave UNC the lead with 23 seconds left. In the Florida State game, Kelly either scored or assisted on UNC's first 18 points of the game, swishing shots and dropping dimes on all of UNC's possessions until nearly the halfway point in the second quarter. After the February 1st overtime victory at Louisville, the North Carolina men's basketball team looked to get another win against the Cardinals on Monday night. Brady Manek came out hot with 3 3-pointers in the first few minutes of the game. The Tar Heels took an early lead, followed by 5 lead changes, and the teams were tied going into the second half. The game stayed close, but Carolina stepped in the last 3 minutes. This layup from Caleb Love closed out the 6-0 run against the Cards, and the Heels won 70-63. Carolina plays NC State on Saturday, hoping to bring justice to the 100-point victory against the Pack last month. After sweeping Seton Hall in a 3-game series during the weekend, Carolina baseball hosted Elon yesterday in the first midweek matchup of the 2022 season. The game started heating up in the bottom of the 4th inning for the Heels after sophomore Johnny Castagnozzi hit a 2-run double to center field, which put Carolina on the board. Castagnozzi helped the Heels extend the lead with a 2-run homer in the bottom of the 8th inning that solidified the 5-1 win against the Phoenix. The Heels will be back in Boshamer Stadium on Friday when they take on East Carolina. The Carolina men's golf team shot 1 over par in the final round of the Watersound Invitational to finish 6th out of 14 teams. Junior Austin Greaser led the Tar Heels, finishing tied for 9th with 3 under 213. David Ford tied for 13th with 2 under 14. The Heels next play on March 20th in Georgia for the Linger Longer Invitational. After finishing day 2 of the Moon Golf Invitational in 14th place at 27 over par, the women's golf team came back in day 3 with a solid performance. Yesterday, the Heels climbed up the rankings after ending the day 7 under par, putting them 20 over par overall. Carolina finished the tournament in 12th place. UNC will be back in action on February 28th of the Darius Rucker Intercollegiate. From swinging clubs to swinging sticks, some Carolina field hockey players have the great honor of playing for Team USA. But with great honor comes great responsibility. Our Joshua Dolgoff has the story.
From Chapel Hill to Chile, Aaron Matson and Cassie Sumfest recently played at the Pan American Cups to represent Team USA.
We all don't take it lightly. You know, we put on the uniform and it says USA and it's red, white, and blue, and it means a lot to us.
Lining up next to people and singing that a national anthem, it means so much more to you, and you're singing it knowing that you're going out there to represent your country.
International play takes the game to another level for Matson and Sumfest as it becomes faster and more physical.
It's super quick. You need to, do everything faster, whether it's passing, shooting, dribbling, getting a shot off, communicating. Everything needs to be faster.
While Matson is up to 67 caps for Team USA, Sumfest earned her first appearance in November, overcoming a torn ACL and the COVID-19 pandemic to accomplish her dream of making the national team.
It was like 2 years where I was out of the USA field hockey pipeline, and finally having the shot and making the team this summer has kind of just been like surreal to me.
Team USA had a fantastic start at the Pan American Cups with 3 wins, but finished in 4th place after close losses to Chile and Canada. Although it wasn't the desired outcome, Matson, who led the tournament with 10 goals, knows that her team has untapped potential.
We could have gotten the job done and should have gotten the job done. But looking at it, we are such a young team. So to us, it's really promising for the future because we have so much skill. It's just about gaining that experience and getting girls out there playing more international hockey.
As Sumfest focuses on the national team full-time, Matson looks to use her Team USA experience to lead UNC back to a national championship in what will be her final season in Carolina Blue. I'm Joshua Dolgoff, reporting.
While Team USA looks forward to their pro season, there are still tons of Carolina sports to watch right here in Chapel Hill. Here's what's coming up. For some lunchtime entertainment, head down to Dorrance Field as men's lacrosse faces Brown today at 1. Tonight at 5, softball returns to Anderson Field for their home opener against North Carolina A&T. Thursday, track and field heads to Blacksburg for the ACC Championships. At 4, women's lacrosse plays at Pittsburgh against the Panthers. At 6:45, the Eagle regular season champions return to Carmichael as gymnastics competes against West Virginia. And at 7, your 18th ranked women's basketball team looks to continue its momentum heading into March as the Heels face the Virginia Cavaliers. Sports Extra will be getting an exclusive interview with women's basketball coach Courtney Banghart at 1 p.m. today. So check that out on our Facebook page and tune in on Friday for a full weekend preview in Carolina athletics.
Thanks, Caitlin. College students and social media go hand in hand. Some prefer TikTok, others like Instagram. But as reporter Molly Clinch shows us, there's a new social media app that's taking campuses by storm.
It's a decades-old affair. Social media like Instagram and TikTok infamously cultivate negative and harmful environments. With filters, influencers, and Photoshop, social media makes it really hard to be your real self. Sophomore Caroline Lamerson does her best to avoid social media platforms altogether.
I think sometimes social media has really negative impacts on people. It makes it really easy to compare yourself, and it sometimes does more harm than good, in my opinion.
But a new social media app, Be Real, is hoping to change this.
Once a day, Be Real sends a push notification to your phone and gives you 2 minutes to respond. So whether you're lounging on the couch, eating a snack, or getting home from class, when you get that notification, that means you have exactly 2 minutes to, well, be real.
With no filters and no time to find the perfect lighting, Be Real wants users to share a moment from their real lives. After gaining a huge following in France, the app has taken U.S. colleges' campuses by storm, and UNC is no different.
Like, you can see what someone's doing, like what their entire surroundings are and like what they're doing. Because social media oftentimes, especially with people in my demographic, is something that takes a lot of like mental effort. Like, you want to like curate a good Instagram post, you want to like make sure your social media presence is like to a certain standard. Whereas with Be Real, it's not that deep.
As Be Real sweeps college campuses all over the country, it's clear that students want the opportunity to share real, authentic moments with their friends, even if it's just a quick picture once a day. In Chapel Hill, I'm Molly Clinch reporting.
Leslie, are you on Be Real? Because I think I'm going to download it.
I think I am too. It sounds really interesting.
That does it for this edition of Carolina Week.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.